If you want to farm faster in Deadlock, the first mindset you need to change is this. Kills are not your economy, systems are. A lot of new players tunnel vision on chasing kills because it feels like the fastest way to get ahead. But the reality is that Deadlock's economy isn't built around random fights, it's built around consistent, predictable sources of souls that reward players who understand how the game flows. So instead of asking yourself, how do I get more kills, you should be asking, how do I stay inside the income system of the game? Once you understand where souls actually come from, you'll start scaling way faster than any average player. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to comment down below. But let's get right into it. Now, the most reliable source of souls in Deadlock is lane troopers. These waves spawn on schedule, march down the lane, and provide consistent income throughout the entire match. You want to think of troopers as essentially your paycheck. They show up every wave, and if you're there to collect them, your economy steadily grows. Now, higher elo or players that have been playing for a while treat lane waves like guaranteed money on the map. Missing a wave is essentially throwing away free souls. That's why you will often see strong players prioritizing wave control and positioning over chasing fights. And if you want to maximize this income, you want to stay in XP and soul range when waves collide. You want to clear waves efficiently so you can move sooner, and you want to avoid leaving lane right before a wave arrives. Every wave you collect puts you further ahead in items, upgrades, and of course overall power. And when you're in lane, the first thing you want to do when waves clashes and you're facing the other opponents is getting rid of the healing minion as quickly as possible. The faster you get rid of that, the wave starts pushing up because it makes the other minions a little bit tankier. Now, there's a whole bunch of more lane theory like crashing waves, freezing waves, and so on that I can cover later on in different types of videos, so if you want to see that, make sure you let me know. Now, neutral camps or jungle camps are essentially your filler income. They exist to keep you farming when nothing else is happening on the map. The key mistake players make is prioritizing camps over lane waves. In most cases, missing a full trooper wave to farm a camp is a net loss. And instead, you should think of neutral camps as the space between waves. For example, your lane is pushed out, the next trooper wave hasn't arrived yet, there's nothing urgent happening on the map. That's when you want to dip into the jungle, clear a camp quickly, and return before the next wave arrives. Now, used correctly, neutral camps smooth out your farming pattern and prevent downtime. Now, just for reference and to make things a little bit easier, Tier 1 jungle camps spawn around the 2-minute mark, as well as boxes and the little golden statues. Then at the 6-minute mark, this is where the Tier 2 camps spawn. And then at the 8-minute mark, this is where the Tier 3 and Sinner Sacrifices spawn. Now, I talk about when to go for these camps a little bit later on in the video. Then we come to Breakables, which are one of the most overlooked parts of the economy, but they add up over time. Again, they spawn at 2 minutes. Now, these objectives give small amounts of souls and sometimes useful buffs. However, they are not meant to be farmed deliberately. The real purpose is efficient movement farming. So typically at the 2-minute mark, a lot of players will push wave into the enemy opponent's tower to collect all of the boxes around their lane and so forth. But the real purpose is, again, efficient movement farming. Basically, good players grab breakables while rotating between locations, not by going out of their way. If you're walking from lane to a camp or rotating across the map, breaking nearby objects along the path adds free souls with 0 time loss. But the moment you start detouring away from waves or objectives just to break them, you're losing a ton of efficiency and just overall progress of the match. So a big key thing to keep in mind is that breakables are a sort of bonus money, not necessarily a primary income. Moving on, we come to objectives, which are essentially the big economic swings. Objectives like guardians, walkers, and other things are where the biggest economic spikes happen. Not only does it give you, decent large soul payouts, but they also shift map control, which indirectly increases your future income. When you destroy a structure, you usually gain burst of souls, safer territory to farm, and pressure that forces the enemy to respond. This means your team can farm more aggressively and more safely, while the enemy is forced into riskier positions. Now, in Deadlock, objectives don't just win the map, they honestly expand your income. Now, moving on, we come to the Soul Urn. Now, the Soul Urn is one of the biggest team-wide payouts in the entire game, but it is also one of the most misunderstood objectives. A lot of players rush the urn immediately when it appears, even if their lanes are falling apart, and that's usually a mistake. The correct way to approach the urn is after stabilizing your lanes. Now, here's why. If you abandon trooper waves to contest the urn, you might lose multiple waves of guaranteed income. In some cases, the souls you lost from waves are actually greater than what the urn gives you. The best time to take the urn is when your lanes are pushed out, your team has proper map control, and you aren't sacrificing waves to contest it. Now, when done correctly, the urn becomes a huge economic swing that pushes your entire team ahead. However, this case kind of changes when it comes to comeback urns, but more of that later. Now, if I could put farming and collecting souls all into one rule, it's honestly rather simple, and this is how it goes. You never abandon guaranteed income for uncertain income. Lane waves are guaranteed. Neutral camps are situational depending on what's happening in lane and what's happening around the map. Breakables like urns and boxes, the golden urns, the golden statues, whatever you want to call them, are a bonus. Objectives are spikes. Players who understand this always end up richer than the ones chasing random fights. So if you want to scale faster than everyone else in your lobby, you don't necessarily need to focus on getting a ton of kills all the time. You honestly want to start focusing on the systems that guarantee souls. Now, I'm not saying that you should never fight and only AFK farm like your average Haze player, but what you should do is take smart fights, fights that actually truly matter. You always want fights that lead into some sort of objective. You take a fight to get a tower, you take a fight to get a walker, you take a fight to get a huge urn win, you take a fight to get mid-boss, you take a fight to do something. You don't take a fight just to take a fight because you're bored. Or you're trying to take the fight to end the game. If there's no reason behind that fight, you're just fighting for no reason. Hopefully that made a little sense. Now that you got a good base understanding of everything, I actually want to loop back around to the laning phase. And that is one of the biggest goals in Deadlock that a lot of new players make, is thinking the goal is to win the duel. But modern Deadlock laning isn't about standing in open and ego fighting your opponents. The real goal is a lot more simpler. You want to collect souls efficiently while forcing your opponents to waste time or health trying to stop you. If you do this correctly, something interesting happens. Your opponent ends up spending more effort trying to disrupt you than actually farming them yourselves. So here's a beginner-friendly system that works consistently. Now, the first step is to be in range before the troopers actually die. The easiest way to lose farm is simply being too far away from them when troopers drop souls. If you drift too far back or rotate too early, you can miss the collection window entirely. That means an entire portion of the wave's value disappears. So good farmers stay close enough to the wave to collect, but not expend enough to take unnecessary damage. This usually means playing by some type of cover, using angles and terrain, and avoiding standing in obvious poke positions in quotations. Your goal is to stay within safe collection range, but not dominate the lane fight. If you're securing your souls and making sure none of them are getting denied, you're already doing a lot better than some of the other players that are starting out. Another big thing I see when starting out for some players is they don't secure the guaranteed souls first. A lot of players lose farm because they try to contest every single drop. They tunnel vision on denying everything, taking risky positions just to win a mini game, but the smartest approach is a lot simpler. You want to secure the guaranteed souls first. Collect what you can safely, especially by utilizing your light and heavy melees. Then if the opportunity is there, then you go for extra denies and extra damage. You should think of it guaranteed income first, which is your own income, you're shooting your own souls, because in this game, your own souls that you're trying to collect prioritize you shooting them rather than the enemy getting priority of denying and shooting yours. Whereas if you feel like you're trying to shoot the enemy's souls and trying to deny them, and they get it even though it feels like you're shooting it before, the game is calculated in a way that the enemies will have priority over their own souls and you have the priority over your souls, which makes it pretty easy and pretty nice, but that is something you still have to consider. Now, another big thing, especially in the laning phase, is to use cover. Trust me, minion damage or trooper damage add up in lane, especially in the early stages as you have a lower health bar. you take a lot more damage, and you don't have the certain resist you need at that time and place. So what you want to do is try to be in cover so you're not taking unnecessary poke. You never want to be forcing a fight when the enemies have a lot more minions on their side, because you're going to be taking extra damage from the minions plus the players. The faster you can thin out the wave, the more damage you can do to the enemies and less damage you receive. It's pretty much from any MOBA game. Usually, you don't want to fight in the enemy's wave. That's the whole idea. Now, like I said, there's a whole bunch of theory with, crashing waves, freezing waves, and the whole works, which eventually you will need to know, but not in this video. This is just a beginner soul farm guide of what to do, what to think about. But if I could give you one rule, just one piece of knowledge, if you didn't watch any of the video, if I can just give you one simple tip, and it's simple. Before you rotate, before you leave your lane, push the wave. If you rotate while your wave is crashing into your structure, you are paying a massive farming tax because you're going to be losing that farm. Instead, you want to kill maybe one entire wave as quickly as possible. Maybe 2 waves so that you have 2 waves of your own pushing towards the enemy. When you do that, you can safely roam, because in theory, someone from the other team has to pick up that wave, and in that instance, they're now fighting a 5v6. So if you can keep that in mind, that's all I truly care about. Push the waves, get your macro right, and you will honestly win a lot more games. It's honestly extremely simple that I see all the way up to Eternus that people forget to do. But anyways, hopefully this video has helped you in any way, shape, or form. And if it has, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and like I've been saying, if you want to see more of this content or more in-depth guides, ideas, strategies, theories, breakdowns, whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments down below. And make sure to come check out me on Twitch, DuckFilms TV. And I hope you have a great and safe day, and I'll catch you in the next one.